Welcome to DaAi Headlines. I'm Wendy Chen. Thank you for joining us. Coming up in today's show, we join Tzu Chi volunteers and Tima medical staff in the Philippines as they hold a free dental clinic in the city of Las Peñas. We meet Dr. Huang Jiahao from Taichung, who combines Western anatomy and Chinese acupuncture to treat his patients. In our regular look at the island's fading industries, we go to Taipei to learn about the making of Mandarin gum from Xu Longyi. First up in the Philippines, Tima medical staff held their 182nd free dental clinic on July 18th in cooperation with a local charity organization. The dental mission provided treatments in tooth extraction, teeth cleaning and filling, and served a total of 138 patients.
Thanks to the Tzu Chi Philippines chapter, the Tima Doctors is holding a joint free clinic with the Persons with Disabilities Federation to help those in need. Among the patients is 55-year-old Carlos Tadeo, who is very happy to receive free dental treatment from Tzu Chi because he has a lot of cavities.
I'm really thankful for the free dental clinic. I hope this can continue in the future. I'm really grateful for the help of the Tima doctors.
Scared that her child suffering from cerebral palsy might slip from her chair, Lilian Denosa carefully holds onto her child. Seeing that the child's teeth are getting treated, she is really grateful.
I am really grateful for the help. Seeing my child with healthy teeth makes me happy. I am really thankful to Tzu Chi.
Dr. Gianna Manalaizai understands the pain her disabled patients are suffering, as she herself is in a wheelchair after an unfortunate car accident.
Usually the fillings cost a lot of money, so I want to do my job properly. I am really grateful to Tzu Chi for giving us this opportunity to help.
Tzu Chi volunteers are also in the crowd looking after those waiting, ensuring that in addition to getting a cure for their sickness, these patients' hearts will also be filled with love.
As the recent torrential rain in China caused severe flooding in Beijing, Tzu Chi volunteers went into the severely damaged area of Fangshan district to express their care to flood victims. After a quick survey, Tzu Chi volunteers set up a disaster relief center in the Beijing Tzu Chi chapter to help victims through their times of need.
In the flood-ridden Fangshan district of Beijing, even though the floods have receded, roads are still muddy and waterlogged, and underground passages are still overflowing with water level over 3 meters high. Crops are covered with mud, and losses are estimated to reach nearly $1.65 million. In Nanbaidai village, Zhangfang Township, over 400 houses were flooded by waters up to 1 meter high, particularly those houses next to the sewer system. Facing the worst rainfall for centuries, the 17-meter wide drain was overwhelmed by the floods. Stone tablets and the ground cover were all washed away, and 43 houses were destroyed. Luckily, there have been no casualties, and thanks to this uncle and nephew pair, 8 families were rescued.
They started to rescue villagers in this house and eventually led one. They brought 2 elders out. One is 89 and the other is 88 years old. After we rescued them, their house collapsed.
No hesitation at all, either relative or not. We should rescue them all, since we are able to do so.
Thanks to help from the military, the cleaning process has been sped up. Tzu Chi Beijing chapter also established a disaster relief center to help the flood victims and conduct follow-up plans to help rebuild the disaster area.
Recently, Tzu Chi volunteers from Taiwan and South Africa flew to Zimbabwe to help assemble prefabricated classrooms for a local elementary school. Currently, the students are learning in outdoor classrooms and were often affected by weather conditions. Tzu Chi volunteers hope through their help that the students will have a better studying environment.
Taiwan Tzu Chi is sending a construction team to Zimbabwe to assemble prefabricated classrooms. 7 Taiwan Tzu Chi volunteers flew 14 hours to meet up with 6 South Africa Tzu Chi volunteers before heading to their final destination of Harare, Zimbabwe. This whole trip, including transfer waiting time, was 24 hours. At Harare International Airport, the team ran into their first obstacle. Zimbabwe Customs detained the volunteers' luggage as many items looked suspicious. After an hour of waiting and Tzu Chi volunteers' explanations to the Zimbabwe Customs head, the luggage was finally released. Waiting anxiously for the Taiwan Tzu Chi team to arrive is this man.
I'm very moved, very happy, because I know upon arrival of these Tzu Chi brothers that the children will finally have a classroom. We can finish the classrooms quickly, and these children can have class, rain or shine.
These are the children Zhu Jincai mentioned, Zimbabwe's most valuable resources. Zimbabwe has a high adult literacy rate, but some children still learn to read and write under difficult conditions. At a suburb near Harare, in Rungu Elementary School, 1,000 students attend school from grade 1st to grade 7. The outdoor classroom holds about 80 to 180 students per class. These are 5th graders, 92 pairs of eyes staring at one tiny handheld blackboard. Everyone's attention is focused. The only thing that distracts the students' concentration is the weather.
Because when it rains, we have to cancel and we have to go home before the right time. And when it's cold, the kids are shivering. Instead of learning in good condition, but they are shivering and they complain, "Ma'am, we can't even write," because their fingers are numb. Yes, and when there's sun, they try to hide under the stone for shade. So there are difficulties, and some mostly complain about headaches because the sun hitting them directly.
Seeing a child use a used shaving blade to sharpen his pencil, a Tzu Chi volunteer brings out a utility knife to help. Every semester's tuition fee is only $15, which is affordable for many impoverished families, but it does not offer the school any funds to build classrooms. Tzu Chi volunteer Zhu Jincai has taken on this responsibility.
There's this opportunity to help. If I don't do it, then who will? If I don't do it, is that okay? This is how I remind myself.
This is the first time that Taiwan has sent prefabricated housing to another country. I hope that our years of experience in Taiwan can help others overseas.
How to assemble these prefabricated classrooms is a large undertaking for the construction team from Taiwan. And the challenge has just begun.
In our continuing series on the fusion of Chinese and Western medicine, we meet a former orthopedic surgeon, Dr. Huang Jiahao in Taichung, who uses his knowledge of Western anatomy and Chinese acupuncture to carry out what he calls needle operations. Using a specially designed needle, Dr. Huang frees up the tendons or muscles, thus returning free range of movements to the affected area. Here's more. Tang Siting is a professional archer. During her training, her shoulder is often dislocated. After going to several other clinics without success, Siting finally found this Chinese doctor in Taichung who specializes in needle operations.
It is like a microscopic surgery. We use the tip of the needle to loosen areas, for example, the tendons between the muscles and bones that have frozen or have stuck together and thus are causing tension. So we separate and loosen these areas.
After the needling, this muscle in this whole area have relaxed, and so the bones can go back to its original position and it won't crack anymore.
Needle operation is a recent evolution in Chinese medicine and is different from traditional acupuncture. The acupuncture needle has a round head, while the needle knife has a flat head like a chisel and is perfect for treating musculoskeletal problems. The secret to the success of Dr. Huang's treatment is that he combines Chinese acupuncture with Western anatomy, having certification in both Chinese and Western medicine. Many Chinese doctors have come to study with him to replicate his methods.
When working in orthopedics, I did many surgical procedures, so I became quite familiar with human anatomy. So I teach these doctors how to avoid the blood vessels and nerves when operating.
Anatomy in Chinese medicine shares many similar areas with Western medicine and has been scientifically verified on many counts. And with recent advances in technology, Chinese medicine is also starting to use medical equipment as part of the diagnosis process. This is a post-diagnosis instrument which measures a person's pulse like an EEG and is the first step to standardizing the post-diagnosis of traditional Chinese medicine.
What we see here is a normal pulse. After the crest of each wave, we then see another small wave that follows. Both the magnitude and amplitude of the waves are normal. It shows that the energy is flowing normally throughout the body.
As data and numbers become more scientific, doctors will find it easier to pass on Chinese medical knowledge.
Everyone knows what a normal pulse should be like, but as soon as we touch the patient, we wonder if we are making a correct reading and if their pulse can be considered normal. So the advantage of this machine is it gives a scientific and a standardized reading.
Although the machine is still not as sensitive as the hands of an experienced Chinese doctor, it is a step forward in ensuring traditional Chinese medicine stays in abreast of medical advances in the 21st century. In Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, a cataracts patient Yang Jingyin received Tzu Chi's help and started to sort recyclables to reciprocate Tzu Chi's love. Her commitment to recycling has inspired her employer and others to take part in safeguarding the planet.
Recyclables in this house are all collected by Yang Jingyin.
You can remove the stickers with diluent and use water to clean it again.
Yang Jingyin carefully cleans the recyclables, tears tags off disposable cups, and washes out their foul odor.
When we knew Jingyin, she had cataracts, so Tzu Chi helped her get treatment. She is doing recycling in thanks for Tzu Chi's help.
Jingyin always does her utmost in recycling. She collects recyclables on her way to office and cleans them after work. Besides, her outgoing personality makes it easier for her to ask others for their recyclables.
Recycling is not something to be ashamed of, and I'll do my best so that people won't look down on me. After all, I'm not stealing or borrowing others' money, and I feel satisfied when doing recycling.
Actually, we tried to encourage an Indian community to join us in recycling and set up a recycling point there. However, the reaction was lukewarm after months of practice. Then, Jingyin's passion inspired us to set up a recycling point here. She did a good job. She even invited her neighbors to join us.
Jingying said that Tzu helps people in need, and we can bring recycle beds here to support their efforts.
On the day of recycling, Jingying takes a day off from her job. Her commitment inspires not only her employer, but also other volunteers.
Staying in Malaysia, the Tzu Kindergarten in Butterworth has been experimenting with an organic farm to help students learn about organic farming at an early age. After a visit to the farm, the youngsters each left with a plant to take home and care for themselves.
As these children carefully pass around the insect, they learn of the wonders of nature.
This trip will help them to understand that organic food is better than non-organic food, and that pesticides harm the earth and our life.
The children look curiously at a red fruit, which turns out to be a roselle flower. The petals of the flower have a sweet and sour taste, which the children eagerly try out. When studying organic farming, one, of course, needs to talk about organic fertilizer.
We saw a lot of vegetables as well as cow manure compost.
After seeing how vegetables are planted and harvested, the children plant their own kale seedlings, which they will take home to care for themselves.
When it is big like a tree, I will give it a bigger pot.
Thanks to the trip, children not only learn about the wonders of organic farming, but also get a chance to try their hand at growing a plant themselves.
Days during the 50s and 60s, the tight-fitting gown, also known as cheongsam, was very popular, and there were at least 10 or 20 stores in Taipei's Henyang Road. In our feature report on Taiwan Sunset's trades, we meet 64-year-old Xu Longyi, who began learning the skills when he was 18. Today, with over 50 years of experience, the master is determined to pass on this culture to future generations.
In the
popular 2000 Hong Kong film of In the Mood for Love, starring Maggie Chun, her elegance and beauty were brought out by the traditional Mandarin gowns she wore. However, to make a cheongsam is no easy task. Snapping lines is an important step before cutting and trimming the fabric. Using a wooden ruler to take measurements and then making a mark with red thread. In a few minutes' time, the pattern of a traditional gown is made.
When we measure it right and draw the right size, it will fit our customers really well, and it will look great. If we don't draw the pattern right, the dress don't turn out as great.
As Xu Yihe is cutting the fabric, on the other side of the store, another customer arrived to make an order. Apart from the waist and bust length, the gown master also takes note of the customer's arm and shoulder length.
After I have taken the measurements, I still look around for other details and take note. Making cheongsam is not just about taking down the measurements, but we also need to observe the customer's body shape.
All the numbers are then written onto an order sheet, which only these tailors can understand. With over 50 years of experience, these masters say they did not learn the skills in one day.
When we first started in the industry as an apprentice, we were not looking to learn everything in a short period of time. We took it by the day, one day at a time, and slowly we mastered the skills.
The sewing machines are convenient, but over the years, Xu Rongyi has always been sewing most of the dresses by hand.
You cannot sew a beautiful edge like this with a machine. The modern-day style of dress, on the bottom part here, we no longer sew a special side line. Buttons like these, they don't use them either. They use a variety of buckles instead. Why? Because we just sew it with a machine over here, and that will do.
The Chuansen masters also sew the edges by hand.
This is called a lucky edge. This binding method is completely different to this one here. In the making of these gowns, there are a variety of edges. There are single binding and double binding methods too.
To make a perfect Mandarin gown, Xu Rongyi designs the dress according to each customer's wants, but also gives his professional advice whenever necessary.
We can't make the split like this. At least, it has to be this way. It needs to flow from here and not being crooked or crumbled. When the split is higher up, we won't make the dress flare as much. That way, it is prettier, but if the dress split is not as high, then we need to make the dress flare so that one can walk.
The beauty of the traditional gown even attracted customers from abroad. On the wall inside the store, one can see photos of Xu Rongyi and his overseas customers from some 3 decades ago. The faded photos remind everyone of the good old days.
Our senior masters are all at least over 80 years of age. If my master was still around, he would have been over 90 by now. He's passed on, so many of our senior masters, not just them, but our generation as well, many have retired and are no longer in the industry.
Coming to Taipei City's DaAi Road, the area is still packed with people, but they are not here to buy cheongsam.
Between the 50s to the 70s, from Henyang Road to Wuchang Street, this area had some 10 or more fabric stores. At a time like this, every shop would have been packed with people.
On this busy street inside the only half-century-old fabric store, there's still a few customers buying fabrics. However, one staff says most of the customers today are buying them to make fashionable dresses instead.
Our customers nowadays come to us because they want something different, so they come to buy fabrics with different patterns. Most of them are in their 40s or 50s.
Though the industry may seem like it is fading, Xu Rongyi says there's still quite a number of people who favor the traditional gown, and it is for this reason that he is motivated to continue his trade. At the end of today's program, we go to Northern California in the United States and join the Chinese community in the annual sports day held last Sunday, July 22nd. City volunteers not only assisted in directing the traffic, but also set up an environmental store to promote recycling concept. We'll leave you with these images. Thank you for tuning in. Goodbye.